Today, I want to walk you through how to get better in sales conversations. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see, and I spend a lot of time with our clients on this stuff. So if you are speaking to prospective clients on the phone or on Zoom, and you're just not getting anywhere, then this video is going to really make a difference for you. If you're selling a service or a coaching package, it's going to be more than a few dollars, right? So you have to get on the phone with people because conversions lead to conversations. You're not going to set up a web page, put a $5,000 price tag on it in terms of like a buy now button, and people are just going to go and purchase that. It's never going to happen. So you have to get on the phone with people to build relationship with them so they get to know, like, and trust you. So you have an opportunity to help them see where they are, where they want to go, and really stretch that gap. Because if there's no pain, there's no change. And what I want to share with you here is a framework that will help you understand how to do a better job at having conversations with prospects. Because here's what I see. And I'll just draw this out. So think of this as you're a frog. Okay, I know that's a beautiful analogy, but let's just think that like you're a frog. And what a lot of people do, and these are my beautiful rendition of lily pads. So what happens is each one of these are a question. And what most people do is they just jump from one surface level question to the next. And so again, let's just assume that this is all water underneath this. And so they're jumping from lily pad to lily pad, and they're asking like very, very surface level questions, and their conversations end up sounding like an intake form at a medical clinic. So where's the pain? In your left shoulder? Cool. How long has that been going on for? What have you taken for that? Your correct address is this. This is your email. It's like, what's happening here? So what I want you to think about is instead of jumping from lily pad to lily pad, I want you to become a bionic frog. And a bionic frog does this, is instead of jumping to the next lily pad, you're going to jump off this initial one and you're going to go deep under the surface. So let me share with you what I mean by this. So if we look at this triangle, this is actually an iceberg. We know that the bulk of an iceberg is beneath the surface, right? So this is all going to be beautiful teal colored water, just like in Antarctica. Okay, so that's the water. This is above the surface. So what most people focus on in their conversations is right here. And that's a very big problem, okay? So there's 3 levels of questions that I want you to understand. So number 1 is we have awareness questions. You can think of these as situation or problem questions. And so the examples I just gave you of like, where's the pain? How long has it been going on for? What have you done, right? Is it radiating down here? Like all of the very fact-finding questions. So I went to see a really good friend of mine who's an amazing chiropractor the other week because I've got like this weird thing going on my arm, like tennis elbow, infraspinatus stuff. I won't bore you with the details. So in the room, he's asking me all the awareness questions. Okay, so if I do this, does it hurt here? No. So if it's here, does anything radiate up here? Those are all awareness, surface level, fact-finding questions. Okay. So in the context of an examination room, an assessment room, a chiropractic office, medical clinic, cool. In the context of a coaching relationship where someone doesn't really know you, it's a bit of a different scenario. Okay. So as a health professional, the tendency is to stay in the awareness questions because that's typically what we've done, right? Person walks in, you're literally looking at a checklist, checking off the nonsense, okay? And so I want you to really think about that's where I start, but it's not where I finish. Where I want you to understand the big opportunity is here is beneath the surface. So let me ask you this. Do people buy emotionally or logically? The correct answer is emotionally. And where do emotions lie? Under the surface? Usually yes. So how do we get to the emotions? We have to ask deeper questions. So if awareness questions are above the surface, beneath the surface, we have 2 levels. The first level I call clarifying questions. And clarifying questions are just that. They're a question to get someone to clarify what it is they mean. And I'll give you an example of this. And there's 2 types of clarifying questions. We have clarification, which is legitimately just clarifying something. And we have challenging questions. So let's look at examples of this. So let's say that I'll just use examples from our business. Someone comes in, we're like, hey, what's going on with your business right now? They're prompted to book this call, right? So that might be an awareness question. Like, what's going on, right? Why are we talking? Well, I saw an ad of yours, watched your masterclass, and just, I was interested in seeing what this is all about. Okay, cool. So let's say the person says that. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about, right? If I just went on to the next lily pad question, I would miss the entire opportunity here. So you have to think that every conversation should follow a framework, but it's not always going to be the same thing. So that prospect's answer to me is going to prompt a very different response based on what he gave me. So just to clarify, so watch what I'm doing here. So I'm using a clarifying question. I don't understand his answer. It's very vague. Thank you. When you said you saw an ad, what resonated most with you about that? There's a lot of ads you see online. What specifically about that one spoke to you to take the time out of your busy calendar to speak with me today and not a year ago or even 6 months down the road? Why today? So now I'm probing, I'm clarifying what it is that person says or wants. Well, I have a busy practice and I'm just, I'm really just sick and tired of it. And I'm looking to, do something online. Okay. So now I have a little bit more clarity. Do I need to go down the rabbit hole there? Maybe, maybe not. So what I could do, now again, I'll give you an example of a challenging clarifying question. So again, I would not ask this right away, but as soon as we build rapport, maybe a few minutes into the conversation, person's like, I've got a really busy practice and I'm looking to, go online. And I might use a challenging question to say, well, that's awesome. It seems like your business is doing great. Why isn't that enough though? Now, see what I've done though? Because what's going to happen, here's why I asked this. Toward the end of the call, you're going to present your offer, or in this case, my offer. And they're going to say, this all sounds great, but now they're going to start weighing the options in their head. Do I need to do this? Do I need to invest this amount? Do I have to learn these new skills? Or do I just stay doing what I'm doing right now? So I want to bring up every possible objection earlier on. So if this person is telling me they have a busy practice and it's doing well, I'm like, hey, it sounds like things are great. Why isn't that enough though? Or why change now though? Or why not just keep doing that? 3 ways of saying the same thing. 3 ways of challenging the prospect while clarifying. Do you understand that? See what I'm doing there is I'm clarifying the situation, but in this case, it's a little bit more from a challenging perspective. So clarifying questions are really important, but they also don't need to be used all the time. So let's look at an example where you ask the question, or I ask the question, well, what's going on in your business right now that prompted you to book this call with me today, not a year ago, and not 6 months down the road? And they go on for 5 minutes and they unload everything. I'm not going to ask them a clarifying question if they've given me very specific details. But if there are aspects of what they said that I want to dive into, so I'm like, hold on. When you said you invested in 3 other coaching programs that didn't work out, tell me more about that. See what I've done there? I'm looking for the opportunities in this monologue that I'm telling you, like your prospects will just unload on you. So you have to pay attention. You have to listen. Don't worry about what you're going to say next. Listen, because you're looking for those opportunities to clarify. Because when you ask a question that gets them to clarify, what happens? That prospect relives the shit. They relive the pain. They relive the discomfort. So tell me about when you said 3 other coaching programs that didn't quite work out for you. Tell me more about that. So they're going to go back into that time and they're going to bring that stuff up. Thanks for, I'm really sorry about that. What do you think was missing from those? Boom. All of a sudden now, clarifying question to bring to surface what? Buying criteria. Here's what I feel was missing, me, the prospect. Therefore, this is what's important to me. Well, there was no support. I was 1 coaching call a month. I didn't get any support. And I'm going ding, 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 ding. Now I know what's important to this prospect. So as I'm leading the rest of the conversation, I'm obviously going to be coming back to earlier you talked that you had no support before. So when we offer you up to 5 coaching calls a day, do you see how this can be a little bit different and more useful for you compared to what you tried in the past? And that person's going to say, yeah. Now, again, instead of just going to the next lily pad, I'm going to ask another clarifying question. How so? And now they're going to explain to me why having more support with us is better than what they've tried in the past. So the clarifying questions can be used at any stage of your call. When you're talking about your solution, your program, and you're asking the person, do you feel this could work for you? Do you feel this specific thing could help you? They're like, yeah, totally. You don't want people to just nod yes, because then you'll think they're in. And I'm telling you this, most conversations where prospects are just like nodding their head and they're like, yep, yes, understand, yes. I'm telling you, it's not closer to yes at the end. They're being polite. So if you ask the question like, do you feel this could help you? Like one specific part of your program, and they say, yeah, totally. Ask a clarifying question. Go beneath the surface. How so specifically? Why do you feel it would though? What makes you feel this particular thing could make the difference for you? Those are clarifying questions. And they clarify for you, they also clarify for the prospect. And the more the prospect spends time talking, either about their pain or about the benefits of your solution, the more they're selling themselves. Make sense? So that's the clarifying level. Beneath the clarifying level, we have impact questions. So think of impact questions as the answer to why, okay? So you have two types. You have pain questions and you have payoff questions. So pain questions elicit a negative emotion in the body. Who else suffers if you remain 75 pounds overweight? That's a pain question, okay? Payoff question, if I'm using the same context, would be who else benefits from you losing the 75 pounds? Notice the difference there? So now there's more of a positive spin as opposed to a negative spin. Now, both of these should be used in all of your conversations. It just depends on where. So for instance, earlier in the conversation, I might spend a bit more time on pain. And as we segue through the conversation, especially as we get into the solution, I'm going to segue more into payoff. So earlier in the discovery phase, as you're asking questions, you're collecting information, you're asking those awareness questions, you're getting clarification. Then the next level is like, well, why is that so important to you? Like you're using a general tone of curiosity, right? So why is that important to you? Let's call that like the grade 1 level impact question that a lot of people will ask. The challenge though is a lot of people overuse why. And a lot of your prospects don't always respond to why, because sometimes it can feel like an intrusive question. So for instance, let's look at an example from a health perspective. So what's going on with your health today prompted to book this call? Well, I'm overweight. I want to lose weight. Okay, cool. Can you specifically break down what you mean by that? And they're going to say, well, I'm 200 pounds. I want to be 150. Okay, so we got a clarifying question / conversation. Again, amateurs just go to the next question. Pros go one level deeper. Why is that so important to you? Right? Why is it so important to you to lose the 50 pounds? So that's okay. That's totally okay to use in that context. The problem though is you can't keep using why is that so important to you every single time in an hour conversation. Why is that so important to you? Why is it so important to you? Why is it so important to you? Why though? It's over the top. So you have to think of, well, what are some other questions we can ask that get to the same answer but are asked differently? So instead of saying, why is that so important to you all the time, right? That can be like one question. And again, the why is that so important to you can be a pain question or a payoff question, depending on how they answer. So if a prospect is like, well, I got to lose the weight now because if I don't, I'm going to die. That's a pain response to a neutral question. If they say, well, I got to lose the 50 pounds because I'm getting ready for my upcoming wedding and I want to look amazing. That's more of a payoff question, or it's more of a payoff response from the prospect's perspective, right? So just understanding that. Okay, so what else could we ask in addition to why is that so important to you? All right, well, what will that do for you that you can't do right now? What will losing 50 pounds help you do that you can't do right now? That's a payoff question. But notice it's the same idea of like, why is that so important to you? Maybe a bit more specific, right? Who else benefits from you losing the weight? Payoff question, okay? So same idea as why is that important to you, but giving them a little bit more direction in terms of how you want to take that conversation. On the pain side, I mean, what do you think it's cost you to be struggling with this weight for the past 10 years? Pain question. Well, it's cost me a lot. See that answer? Is that vague or is that specific? Vague. So here's something else, is you have all the luxury in the world to go back and forth between these two levels. So what does it cost? What does it cost you over the past several years to still be struggling with this weight? And the person says, it's cost me a lot. How so? Clarifying question. Can you unpack that for me? Clarifying question. When you say how so, like, what do you mean specifically? Or can you give me a specific example of what you mean by that? Right? What I've done there is I've taken a vague answer to an impact question. I don't have clarity around what that means. So I'm going one level up back to clarify it. And now they're going to come back down and unpack the impact. Does that make sense? And all of this beneath the surface stuff is done to help people recognize one very important thing. And I've drawn this out before, but I'll do this again. I'll do it this way. So here is your price, okay? And your price also is perceived pain of change. right? So that includes price, it includes effort, it includes things that they have to give up, etc. Here's the problem, is that if they're down here, pain of current situation, they are never saying yes to working with you. What you'll hear instead is come the end of the call is, oh, this sounds really good. I just need to think about it. Or I need to run this by my spouse. Or I need to go pray on this. Or I need to insert smokescreen bullshit, okay? Because they don't fundamentally have enough pain in their current situation relative to what it is that they think they're going to pay for this. Price, effort, etc. And so the first part of your call, especially in the first half of your conversation, needs to be living beneath the surface to unearth the horrendous pain of their current situation. Because what you want to do instead is, if we flip this around, and let's say that's scenario number one, what we want to have instead is we want it to look like this. Is for the same price, I'm not talking with the price being lower here. I'm saying for the same price or pain of change, relative, it's lower than pain of current situation, right? I'm not saying the price is less, right? Although on the graph it looks lower, but it's lower relative to the pain that they're in. And what this looks like, if you also put some eyes on this, is a smiley face, right? This is when people say yes, is when they recognize the pain of their current situation is not acceptable. We had a client, I was actually reviewing their call with them the other week, and they help women over 40 lose weight. And this woman's on the call, we're reviewing it, and she's got 70 pounds to lose. She's visibly upset. In the first 5 minutes, she's crying because she said her dad passed away a year ago because he was overweight as well. And she's always had this association to being overweight, and she's tried Weight Watchers and different diets, nothing's worked, etc. And I'm like, man, here's a major opportunity to really dig the knife and help someone understand that it's not okay to be 70 pounds overweight. In no world is it okay, right? Fuck the whole fat shaming world that we live in right now. It's not okay to be 70 to 100 pounds overweight. Big is not necessarily beautiful. I mean, it might be, but it's not healthy, right? And this is the problem, is that if you are not able to help someone understand that being massively overweight is not a major problem, they're going to think it's okay. And that's not okay. So part of our questioning here, and it's not for us to tell them that. It's hey, do you think so this woman, here's the funny thing, I'll just kind of give you the synopsis. That's where it started. And then at the end of the call, it was definitely this is what I want to do. I just need to talk to my husband, and then sends our client an email a couple hours after. It's well, we're not going to go through this because we have kitchen renovations going on right now. I'm oh my God. And this is why this woman is never going to get the help that she wants. And what she's going to do is she might be in a certain amount of pain, but for a $3,000 investment, the $3,000 was too much for her. Her pain threshold, her pain maybe was $500. But our job in this conversation is to help her see how that pain that she's in is a $5 million fucking problem, right? You have a 12-year-old daughter. How do you think that she's going to grow up looking at you as an example? Now, I know some of these questions, you obviously have to kind of mitigate them a little bit so they're not confrontational, but we have to be honest with people. That's why we call this coach to close. It's about asking questions that get people to the truth and hopefully help them change. So I understand you're 70 pounds overweight. I mean, why not just keep doing Weight Watchers? I can't keep doing that stuff but why? I mean, is it really that bad? Is it really that bad to be 70 pounds overweight? She's going to sell me on why it's not okay. I can't tell her being 70 pounds overweight is true. It's not good for your heart, not good for your blood vessels, your blood sugar. I can't tell her that. We need to ask questions for them to tell us. The problem is if you're the expert, the tendency is for you to talk. Just shut the fuck up, okay? Ask a question and let them talk. And the key is when you're reviewing your calls, which you have to be doing, you have to record your calls and you review them, is you look at where am I talking? Where am I making a monologue? Where am I making statements? And you write that down, you're shit, okay, how do I turn this statement into a question? So instead of me saying, well, in my experience, when women come in and they're 70 pounds overweight, there's a lot of problems with that, right? There's, we see organ failure and blood sugar issues and all that. I mean, I'm making a statement. Stop talking, Yuri. Cool. Next time around, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to take that statement I said, and I'm going to ask myself, what's a question that I can ask that will give me the same type of response, but a deeper emotional impact from the client than if I said the statement? Because if I make the statement, here's what happens. Yep. Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. What I want is, well, what impact on your body do you think 70 pounds of excess weight is creating? Well, I mean, I'm not the expert, but I would assume it's probably not good for a bunch of things. I mean, what comes to mind based on what you know of the human body? Do you think it's healthy for your heart? No. Why so? Why not? How so? Do you think it's good for your blood sugar levels? Like, do people with diabetes, are they typically healthy weight or overweight? I'm just asking questions and the prospect is saying everything. Got it? So this 3-layer framework, if you use this, will make a massive difference in your conversations. Now, this is obviously, we flesh this out with all the questions for the different levels for our clients. And this is something that we give them in addition to our Coach to Close enrollment script, because the reality is, as much as we have a script, every conversation is different. So let me give you another example. Let's say you have someone that you ask the first question after setting the agenda. The first question is, well, again, what prompted you? What's going on with your health that prompted you to book this call to me today, not a year ago, not 6 months down the road? They're like, well, I just finished doing Weight Watchers and I'm just sick and tired of all this stuff that doesn't work. Okay, cool. So that's like prospect A. Prospect B, you ask the same question and they tell you that they have a wedding coming up in a couple months and they want to get in better shape. Okay, cool. So you got 2 fundamentally different answers to the same question. So do you think you have to have the same next question? Probably not. Like, you have to be able to understand what the whole 30,000 foot perspective looks like, understand the framework so you can lead the conversation more effectively. So if someone's coming in and saying, well, I'm just sick and tired of Weight Watchers and doing all this shit that doesn't work, the first thing I'm going to ask is, I'm not going to jump to the next question. I'm going to be like, well, tell me more about that. Like, that's it. Like, tell me more about that. Tell me more about 4 words that came out of my mouth. That's it. Not, oh, I hear that all the time. Our clients come to us all the time with Weight Watchers and this diet and this diet. And our approach to, just stop fucking talking. Tell me more about that. Clarifying question, zip it, let them talk. That sounds really frustrating. And I get that. A lot of our clients feel the same way. What do you think was missing from that approach? Clarifying question, right? Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, just out of curiosity, like, what happens if nothing changes? I mean, what happens if we get off this call and you just go back to what you were doing before? See what I just did there? Impact question, pain. And they're going to talk about the shit. And they're going to say all the shit that's going to happen. It's not going to be okay. I'm going to do this. And like, are you okay with that? Clarifying / impact question. No, I'm not. So what I've done there is I've taken 3 additional deepening questions right off what they told me in the first couple minutes. And that conversation is very different, although it's following the same framework as the person who said, well, I'm getting ready for a wedding in 6 months. Oh, that's awesome. Are you getting married? No, it's, my best friend. Oh, that's great. Awesome. So, I mean, why is it so important to you to get in great shape for the wedding, right? So more of a payoff question, because I have the clarification. I don't need clarification. Like, I don't need to ask the question, well, how long have the bride and groom been together for? Like, I don't need that level of clarification. Like, you have to clarify where it makes sense. So you live in Phoenix. Why Phoenix? Like, I don't need that type of clarification. You have to get clarification where it matters. You have to choose your battles, okay? So I'm going to go from, in that case, I already have clarity about what they're looking for, right? They want to get in shape for a wedding. And I'm asking, is it your wedding? Or like, no, it's my friend's. Cool, awesome. Like, why do you want to get in good shape for the wedding? Why? Again, impact question, payoff. Well, because Okay, cool, awesome. And is that not, is this something that you've struggled with for a number of years? Like, kind of getting in shape and putting the weight back on? Talk to me about that. Now, in that case, I come almost back up to an awareness question, to like a problem question. I want to get a bit of context for where is this all coming from, okay? So hopefully what you're getting from this training is that every conversation is different, yet every conversation is exactly the same. And if you're like, Yuri, I don't understand what you're talking about, trust me, you'll find out very soon. And listen, if this is something you want help with, I mean, I personally review our client sales calls. So if you would want me to review your calls, like if you have a call with a prospect and they don't enroll or they do enroll, or you're like, I don't even know how to handle these situations, do you think it might be helpful if I personally reviewed your calls and gave you live on the spot feedback to show you exactly how to get better for next time? Do you think that might be valuable for you? How so? See what I'm doing here? This is like Inception. It's like meta. I want you to think of what one client is worth to you. There's a dollar amount, right? Let's call it $5,000. If I were to help you, let's just say this, that your close rate is 10% on cold traffic, not friends and family who already know, like, and trust you. Cold traffic. People are like, I don't even know who this person is. 10% of people you speak with, you have 10 calls, one person enrolls. You make $5,000. What if I could help you improve your skill at having those conversations so that instead of 1 out of 10, it's 3 out of 10. Do you think that might make a difference to your business? Yeah, like numerically, if you made $5,000, 1 enrollment, all of a sudden you now make $15,000 from 3 enrollments. You've tripled your business. How? By getting better at this. How? By having me personally review your calls. So if this is something of interest to you, hey, there's probably a link below this video in the description. Obviously, we have to make sure this would make sense. Watch our Perfect Client Pipeline Masterclass. If you fit the criteria, you got to be experienced. You have to have a track record of paying clients. You have to be the best at what you do for this to even make sense. If you're just starting out, you've got no business, this is not going to happen. So I just want to be very clear with you about that. And as you know, if you've watched my videos, I never even make any kind of call to action. Okay, so this is like in hundreds of videos, this might be the only one where I've had a little bit more of a direct, here's the next step you can take in terms of potentially working together. So if that's of interest to you and you understand that your selling skills are fundamentally the biggest constraint and opportunity in your business, because they are for everyone in this type of business model, it makes a huge difference when you can enroll more people instead of letting them kind of slip through the cracks. So if you want some help, click the link below, check out our masterclass. If it resonates and you fit the bill, then you can book in a call with our team and we can see if it'd be a mutual fit to have us help you. Now, again, me helping you in your sales calls is just one aspect of how we help our clients. So anyways, I'll just keep it at that because this is not a sales pitch. This is a training video to help you get better with your sales. So if you've enjoyed this, awesome. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you need to rewatch this 1,000 times, do so. Just get better at asking questions. So here's the thing. I'll finish this. The more you talk, the more they walk. Got that? Ask more, talk less. And you'll get people enrolling to work with you. They'll say this was the best conversation of all time because they spent 90% of the time talking and all you did was listen and ask clarifying questions. Cool? Hope this helped out. How do you build self-belief and confidence as an entrepreneur? Well, one of my clients was recently asking me this, and I'm going to share 4 things that I've used over the years that have really helped me out.